morning. It is Thursday, November the 14th, and it's been a couple days since I've posted because we've had a lot going on. I'm just relaxing on the bus. Charlie added a few things to make it a lot more comfortable. So, like, I'm laying on like a twin sized blow up bed with a see, it's making me tired just laying here on it. And it's got memory foam on top of it, sheet, blanket, and then of course I've got my array of pillows I can stretch out. It's going between two seats and it's got stuff in the middle so that I can go completely across the bus. Like this, let me show you. If you can see that. Ta-da! Okay. I hope you could see that. I'll have to check that out. But anyway, let's see. We got to Texas and we went to go cross the border, and that's where you can get a permit, a vehicle permit. There's like 3 different ways you can get a vehicle permit, which you have to have in order to drive in Mexico. One way is to get it online, but it takes several weeks for it to come back. Another way is to go to the Mexican consulate, which has these departments called Banjarcitos, and they are places where you can get your temporary permits for your vehicles. But you have to make an appointment and so forth. So, or you can just get one right at the border. When you get to the border, at certain border points, they have Banjarcitos, and that is where you can get your vehicle permits. So we were all ready to cross day before yesterday. But when we got there, it was really strange because as soon as we drove up and then they directed us to park, Charlie and Thomas went into the Banjarcito office, and the lady was like, "Is that your bus out there?" And, Charlie was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "We're not going to give you a permit." And we were like, okay. So anyway, she said, "Well, you could try to argue your case with the uniformed guards out there." So I don't know what this was about. It was really strange. So Charlie goes out there, Charlie and Thomas, and they try talking to the security people there. And they looked at his title and registration. Actually, they took pictures of the title and registration. And Thomas saw the guy. He took pictures with his phone, and he texted it on WhatsApp to somebody. I don't know. But anyway, they were like, we talked to the administrative department, and they said, no, we're sorry, we cannot give you one. And we were like, why? And they were like, because the weight that the vehicle has on the inside of the car is over the limit. Well, there's big controversy over that, about whether, and we've looked on the website, we have scrutinized it like extensively, and it seems like there's a difference in the translation between 2 acronyms, GVWR and the GVR, I think it is, or the GVW. The GVW and the GVWR, I think, are the 2 different acronyms. One of them talks about the weight of the bus itself with no cargo. And according to the Mexican website, that can be no larger than 7,700 pounds. Our bus is 5,600 and something pounds, so we're well below that limit. But then it also says that our bus also has a number for the maximum weight that it can carry safely, and I think it's 9,600. And it could be that they were interpreting and using that particular number instead of the other number that's on the title. They're supposed to only use what's on the title, according to what I understand. But who knows? On the other hand, also, they never would have known what that maximum capacity was because they never looked in the bus. They never, like, where that number is written, is if you open up the door, it's written like inside the door frame, I think. There's a sticker in there that has a bunch of information. They never looked there. And it's not written on anything else. So we couldn't figure out how that they could even have been going by that, because they didn't look at that number. That number was not written on the title or the registration. So we just kind of think that they were like, no way, and whatever. So we decided what we were going to do is we decided to make an appointment to go to the Mexican consulate. Well, actually, we drove to the Mexican consulate and then found out you had to make an appointment. So we made an appointment. The earliest we could make it was for the next day, which was yesterday. And so they had an appointment at 8:30 yesterday morning, and they went, and like, no problem. The whole thing was done, sealed. We got our little sticker and everything. And then we went back to the hotel. Well, no, we drove down close to the border. We drove to Mercedes. We decided we were going to try going in a different point of entry, because we had our ticket. We had our certificate, our sticker, our permit. And then we got some information about some increases in precautions for Mexico. And in reading the precautions and everything, we started to be like really leery. And I totally believe this has to do with the immigrant and all of the controversy that's going on about that, and the military all coming down, and just all that, I think, has raised a lot of tension and stuff. And so I think everything has caused all this. But anyway, one of the way we were going to go down the East Coast, that every single state in Mexico, because Mexico has states too, just like the United States, every state, the department of the U.S. Department, gives each state a number based on how safe it is. I think they do that for the whole world, but anyway, they do that for the whole world. But for Mexico in particular, we were really concentrating on that, and we'd always looked at that, and we weren't going to be going through anywhere that had high numbers. So a 2 is increased, I guess 1 is like no precaution. 2 is increased precautions. 3 is reconsider travel, and 4 is stated by the United States Department to be like no travel, do not travel. Well, the one state we were going to be going through now is a 4, do not travel. The one that's along the coast, Tamaulipas, I think it is, Tamaulipas, something like that. Anyway, that one has been raised to a 4. In addition, there hasn't been an increased amount of gang violence, killings, and particularly they are targeting buses, both commercial and personal passenger buses. And so that made us obviously a big target because we are driving a bus. Second, in addition to all that, our bus, we were told by the Border Patrol, looks just like a it said something like, that's a Mexican transit bus. That's a transit bus or something like that. We did some more research last night and discovered that indeed a lot of the Mexican transit buses are actually recycled school buses. And so they're being targeted right now. So because of all this increased caution that they just added new warnings yesterday, I believe. So we have decided, nope, we are going back to North Carolina. We have decided that traveling in this bus is really not a good idea. It's really not a safe idea, especially with Just, me, Charlie, Thomas. Maybe if it was a bigger group of people, but even then, I mean, who knows? But nevertheless, because it's a yellow school bus, we also recently read about somebody who they weren't allowed in till after they had painted their bus a different color. So, and that was just recently. So, we have decided that we're going to go back to North Carolina, and either we're going to sell this vehicle. I'm so sad. I don't really want to sell it. I love it. Or and get a different vehicle, or we're just going to fly down there. So, we will let you know what happens. Anyway, we still have an adventure. I mean, more to our adventures, because tomorrow we are taking Thomas to the airport in Houston, where he has a flight out. And he will be going to Guatemala. He has friends there, and he's planning on doing some more teaching English there. So we're going to be leaving him there, and he's going to continue on flying. And we're going to go back to North Carolina and then decide which route we're going to go, whether we're going to get a different vehicle or whether we're going to fly. And then we're going to be going to San Cristobal. And just a note on that, San Cristobal de las Casas is in the state of Chiapas. And Chiapas also has been raised from a level 2 to what it was to a level 3, which is reconsidered travel, except for, it states, the tourist cities such as San Cristobal de las Casas. And that is where we plan to go. So we will just have to see how our adventure evolves and changes. And as you all know, it's an ongoing adventure. Bye-bye.